Because the Negro agenda is not the white agenda. Now, white folks can discuss certain things. Policies will differ, whether it's Republican or Democrat. You okay? But for black folks, it's absolutely the same. They're going to continue the extermination campaign, the public school shutdown campaign, the abortion campaign, the LBGT campaign, the poverty campaign. Nothing going to stop, because the goal for America for blacks today is extermination. Slavery was oppression. This is extermination. We're getting rid of you Negroes. We never wanted you, and you have overstayed your welcome, and you wasn't even smart enough to build up yourself knowing we don't want you, so that when the time comes for us to get rid of you, you would be able to do something about it. We got the Mexicans coming in. We don't need you. They work for half the money and they less trouble. Goodbye.
I agree with that totally.
It's a Negro removal program. And they got black, and then they brainwashed Negroes into accepting the Latino takeover. And I'm not criminalizing Latinos. They're just being used by the government. It's not anything personal against them. It could be any group of people, but they get you to fall for what the takeover, what they're doing, by feeding you multiculturalism. This is all one rainbow nation. You got to be stop talking about slavery. That's over with. You need to join ranks with the Asians and the Arabs and the Latinos and the gays and the white women and the physically handicapped and the hunchback and people with 2 fingers and people with 3 toes. And y'all need to unite as one minority people. There's only one problem with that. Everybody else came here of their own free will. There's only one problem with that. They didn't build America. We did. There's only one problem with that. Every last one of those groups have been given systematic privileges and supports to help them get a foot up in this country. We never got one. So how do you blend the black agenda in with everyone else? How can we be one color amongst a much larger rainbow when you never see the color black in any rainbow?
That's right.
All right. What's the biggest misconception that you think people have about you?
They think I hate gay people. They think I hate white people. They think that I preach separation, which I don't. Black people are already separated. Why do I have to be a separatist? You are already separated. You ain't nowhere in the banks. You ain't nowhere in the real estate. You ain't nowhere making the power decisions. You ain't nowhere in the U.S. Senate. You ain't in the Supreme Court. Well, 1 or 2 token Negroes, but you're already segregated. If America really believes in integration, give me political economic integration. Where's my share of the banks? Where's my share of the wealth? Where's my share of the gas stations? Where's my share of the hospitals? If the white man really wants to be integrated, let's integrate. But don't give me social integration. We can go to the hospital. We can go to the hotel. We can date white women. We can go get some pizza together. We can sit on the same toilet. That's social integration. I don't care about that. I want economic integration. I want my share of America's wealth that is rightly mine because my ancestors built this country. You don't let me out of slavery and say I'm free. Freedom does not mean the absence of chains. Freedom is the ability to do for yourself what the white person could do for themselves. And unless you can sit here and tell me that as black men and black women, we are not in any way, shape, or form systematically disadvantaged by virtue of being African, then we not free. Freedom is not what's on paper. Freedom is what you live. What black person in America can say that they free when at any second you can be stopped and murdered by a policeman? No different than a slave could be by a slave tracker 300 years ago. This ain't freedom. Well, it is freedom. Freedumb. 40 million free dumbass Negroes who fail to recognize that if you don't do something for yourself, you won't be around. There'll be a museum. The Museum of African Life, where they'll talk about what we used to look like. They'll have shell-top Adidas in there. They have some weaves. They have a white woman, a basketball, a video game. And they say, once upon a time, we had these people who lived here, but they died off for mysterious reasons. We don't know what happened to them. Oh, you can become extinct. Don't forget, the British exterminated the Grimaldi people. The Grimaldis were, not the Grimaldis. The Grimaldi was the first in Europe. The Tasmanians. Small little island off the coast of Australia. A group of Africans lived there called Tasmanians. The British exterminated every single one. The Herero people in Southwest Africa, close to Namibia. The Germans exterminated nearly every one. So black people walking around talking about, my Lord, my Jesus is going to see to it that nothing ever happens to me. You have cultures of black folks who no longer exist, totally wiped out by whites. And if you don't think they could wipe out 40 million Negroes who don't own nothing, You better wake up and smell the coffee. That's why they came out with the new disease. Zika, Shanika. That's the Shanika disease. And you think it's a coincidence that Atlanta is now the AIDS capital of the world? Ain't this the city we was told was the new black Mecca? Move to Atlanta. It's nothing but opportunity for blacks in Atlanta. Yeah, right. Right around the corner from the Center for Disease Control. Is that a coincidence that the city with the highest AIDS rate for black folk, the new Mecca, is in the same city with the Center for Disease Control? The same center that helped spread AIDS, Ebola, West Nile, and everything else. So remember they had the Atlanta child murders? They still don't know who did that. I know who did it. The Center for Disease Control did it.
Would you ever become a politician?
No, I would never run for office. No.
Why?
Because a system designed by your enemy, where you do not have the power to rewrite the rules, will always benefit your enemy. When you look at the average black politician, many of them who came from the hood, not the bourgeois Negroes, but the grassroots, they went in there sincere, right? 20 years later, look at them. After 20 years, almost none of them are what they were when they walked in. You know why? Because you can't change the system, but the system can change you. Which is why as Pan-African nationalists, we teach building our own systems. The only thing the system going to do is change you, especially when black people fail to recognize that if you want your politicians to stay loyal, you have to finance their campaign. The reason why the average black politician is a sellout in New York or a sellout in Philadelphia or a sellout in Houston is because they got to get elected by who? Democratic Party money, Republican Party money, Green Party money, Walmart money, McDonald's money, Chevrolet money, Rockefeller money. How they going to be loyal to you when they're being financed by white folks? If you want a black politician to push a black power agenda, you have to give him the black dollar to do it. You got to finance me to keep it real. Because if you don't finance me, I'm going to sell out to the person paying my campaign bills. We ain't figured that one out either. Why does every politician sell us out? Is there something wrong with the politicians? It's not all characterological. Don't get me wrong, a lot of them are born sellouts. But it's not all characterological. It's systematic and economic driven. You don't finance them. You vote. But voting ain't what counts. It's the money. Because guess what? I might vote for you. But had it not been for her money, you would have never even been in a position to win. The money comes first. Money don't control politicians. Excuse me. Politicians don't control money. The money controls the politicians.
What curriculum did you plan on having at the school? 6
core curriculums will drive the school. Ain't no need to mention language, science, math, history, social studies. You're required to have that. Agricultural, agronomical science. The children will be taught how to grow their own food, how to sustain life, their own crop. You don't graduate from our school unless you know how to grow your own food. 85% of black people are dying from diet-related diseases, what we eat and how we eat. So we got to change that through the agricultural science. Economic and financial science. Black people are financially illiterate. It doesn't matter how much you make if you don't know what to do with it. The laws of money have been kept from us. So we're going to teach our young people how to do their own taxes, how to write business plans, how to invest in the stock market, how to invest in real estate. They will be taught that you can become a multimillionaire without having ever spent a single day in a college classroom. They will be prepared for college. They will be more than prepared for college. But I don't want them thinking that you go to college to get rich, because most people go to college in America go to college to stay broke. The only thing you guaranteed to get in one of America's four-year institution is a long-ass student loan debt list, black or white. Okay? Then we will also teach African spirituality and cosmology. We are not a religious institution, but we do adhere to African cultural norms. So our children will be taught the importance of ancestors. In African culture, our ancestors are our angels, not any naked white boys with wings on their backs. Our people who die still stay with the family. That's our invisible force. Okay, before I came here tonight, you know where I was at? I was at my altar in my house talking to my ancestors, asking them to travel with me and look out for me and protect me, because I didn't know who y'all was. You understand? And Dr. Umar Johnson got into me, so I make sure I stay prayed up to God And then I make sure I stay communed up with my ancestors, so our children will be taught that. Each one of them will have their own office, their own ancestral altar to build up their own juju power. And then we will also teach the science of the African family and the African community. This is critical. Girls will be taught how to be mothers and wives. Boys will be taught how to be fathers and husbands. We've lost that. Look at the divorce rate in the black community. If a black child is looking for a happy, healthy example of a black family, it's hard to find one today. So we're going to teach them. We're also going to teach science of the community. What is a community? How does it function? What are the key institutions in the community? If you come into a dysfunctional neighborhood, what's the first thing you should do to try to turn that black neighborhood into a functioning community? So they're going to be taught how to be leaders. It's the Fred Douglass Marcus Garvey Leadership Academy. We need leaders. We don't have leaders. We got hustlers. We need leaders. And then we will also have a military and political science curriculum. We're going to teach our children self-defense, how to defend themselves, okay? I hope to God they never have to be in a position where they got to think about whether they need to take another person's life in order to save their own. But I understand the world we live in, and they need to be prepared for that. Definitely. And we will teach them political science.
Definitely.
Which is how white supremacy operates. They need to know. Why are black women more educated and more employed than black men? How did that happen? Okay? Why are black men the largest demographic in the prison system? How do black people gross $1 trillion and yet we don't have one single self-sustaining black community in the entire United States of America? Why do half of black Christians still have a white Jesus hanging up on their wall? This is the science of white supremacy, political science, understanding how the world operates. How is Africa the most minerally rich continent on the face of the earth, but the people are in the poorest condition? How can you be dead broke, sleeping on ground with diamonds underneath you? There's reasons for all this, and they're going to be taught that. Because a lot of our schools teach a lot of our African-centered schools teach black children their history, but they don't teach them political science. So they know everything about slavery, everything about ancient Egypt, you understand? Mm-hmm. But what do they know about the world now? What do they know about Obama, and why was Obama elected? I'll tell you why Obama was elected. 2 reasons. One domestic, one foreign. Every president is given a foreign mandate and a domestic mandate. Something you must change internationally, something you must change locally. Obama's international mandate was to infiltrate Africa with AFRICOM, put United States military bases in every major mineral deposit area on the continent so that America could control Africa's resources. And if anybody tries to threaten America's control of Africa's resources, America would manufacture a terrorist cell with the CIA, because what they do is they go and pay people to act like they terrorists. Oh yes, this is how the CIA operates. So they could go in and make Africa safe for democracy as they steal all the diamonds and oil and coltan and silver. Okay, so that was the foreign mandate. Recolonize Africa. He done that. What's the domestic mandate? Make homosexuality, LBGTism, transgenderism totally accepted by black people by the time he left office.
Speaking of that, I recently...
Let me say one more statement on that if I can, real quickly. America had a problem. We need to get rid of these Negroes. And one of the best ways to do it is to brainwash their children into LBGT relationships so they don't procreate and have more children. How can we do this? Because black people historically are not a pro-homo people. They've always had homosexuals and lesbians, but it was never a mainstream option in the black community to be open and gay. If you were gay, you kept it to yourself and you moved on. That was the code. How do we break that code down and make it acceptable to people who ain't into that? I know what we're going to do. We're going to put a black president in office. And while black people are so drunk on Obama juice, so happy and self-esteem thrilled by the fact that a half black man is in the White House, we're going to give that half black man a homosexual agenda. And while black people are celebrating him for being black, they'll be totally blind to the homosexual agenda that he's pushing forward. And by the time he leaves office, the LBGT culture will have thoroughly colonized, conquered, and overtaken the black civil rights agenda. It has happened. When Obama ran for president the first time, what did he say? He said, I believe marriage is between a man and a woman. If anybody proves me wrong, I got $1 million for you. He ran and said marriage is between a man and a woman his first term. And all of a sudden now, he's for gay marriage. First president in American history to openly be for it when you ran against it your first term. Did he have a change of heart? Hell no. That was the setup and the takeover. If you don't understand white supremacy, anything else you see will fool you. You know what you're going to get the next 8 years? The same nonsense you got the last 8 years. If your behavior don't change, your oppressor's behavior doesn't change either. The white man is a brilliant. He's a brilliant. Outthinking Negroes. And you know why he keeps outthinking Negroes? Because we want to be accepted by white folks. You know why we so happy Obama became president? It's not that he became president. It's that his presidency symbolizes to the average black person that white people are beginning to accept us. Our whole life is about acceptance. What happened when not a single black actor was nominated for Best Actor at the Oscars? Okay, what happened? The black actors went off. Why are you going off? This is a white awards program. If you want a Best Black Actor, why don't you start a black awards program? You don't want that. You want to be validated by your enemy, which makes you a fool. Zimmerman got off like all the other cops because Negroes followed Obama into this post-racial society. Race don't matter in America. You're still just as broke as you was before Obama got elected. You still don't own nothing like it was before Obama got elected. But y'all let this Negro, we let him brainwash us into believing into a post-racial society. You know what that means? When Zimmerman murdered Trayvon, that meant that race as a motive, because he should have been tried for a hate crime, that should have been a hate crime, and every police murder should have been a hate crime. None of them were. They said, well, maybe race had nothing to do with this. Since when does race have nothing to do with a black being murdered by a white? We've been getting murdered by white folks since slavery. How does race have nothing to do with it? Because we have a black president and we live in a post-racial society, and even black people were starting to say that American society has changed. Yeah. And the minute you let up your push, white supremacy came back 50 times harder. You see Obama's last term? It feels like we in the 60s again. White folks are no longer afraid to hide their racism. You see it on the streets. A sister emailed me the other day. She was at a supermarket. White people cursed her out, called her every N-word under the sun. And then they had the police at the supermarket escort her out. I'm going to be working with her on this situation. White folks ain't afraid to say the N-word. White folks ain't afraid to treat you like you're still back in the Jim Crow law because we made it safe. Black people bought into post-racialism under Obama. Worst thing happened to us in the past 20 years was President Obama. Why do I say that? Because had anybody else been president, you would have still had your racial consciousness. You would have still had your political consciousness. But because it was Obama, because it was a black, you said we got to give him a pass. But they killing your sons. I know, but we got to give Obama a pass. You let our children suffer so one Negro, one bougie Negro who don't even care about you can be successful in office. Oh, it's downhill from here. And it's all our fault. I'm not even going to blame Obama because I like Jesse and Sharpton. When they ran for president, they said they was running for black folks. Obama never said he was running for you. We projected our Jesus complex on him and made him some kind of savior. Are you following me? He never got on the interview and said, I'm going to change something in black America. He ain't never said that. He don't even like being black. Hates that black blood. He was raised by
Why do you say that?
He was raised by white racist grandparents. And in his book, his words, he said that he never chose, I'm paraphrasing, he never chose to be black. He was made to be black. They kept on reminding him that he was black. If Obama could pass for white, he would have passed for white. Have you noticed that whenever he mentions black men, it's only to deride black men and disrespect black men? He ain't never had nothing positive to say about black men. Obama don't like us. Obama is a white man in beige clothing.